remember months into owning the Nintendo Switch in 2017, every time I booted up that system, I was amazed that I was playing console games anywhere that I wanted to. And it's a similar kind of feeling with the Valve Steam Deck, which I've had now for a couple of months, and I use it almost every single day. And I wanted to just kind of come back and talk a little bit about what it's like to play games on this device and how this is sort of integrated into, kind of my regular game playing cycle, because I have all the machines, of course, and I review stuff on everything. And sometimes I have a project that I'm working on, a review I'm working on that takes me away from being able to play a PC game for a while. I end up playing this thing everywhere, whether I'm on the couch hanging with my family or on an airplane flying to Disneyland or in a hotel room hooked up to a TV set or chilling in bed just before I pass out, trying not to, drop this thing. I take it everywhere and I play it everywhere. And I've seen a ton of videos that talk about the Steam Deck. They kind of always bring up the things that it's not quite doing well yet. And of course, one of the things that the Steam Deck still has to improve on is the ability to play everything that's in your Steam library. And there are, more than a few hundred games already that are great on deck or approved for this device, but there are several games that you will load up that will just struggle or won't work at all on this platform, and they'll crash right out. And of course, there are tons of videos talking about all of the tweaking and the tuning and the emulation that this thing is capable of, and all of the flat packs that you can install on the desktop version or a portion of the Steam Deck that allow it to run the Epic Game Store, for example. And you can spend, and I have spent, quite a bit of time tweaking and tuning and playing with the settings and just finessing and fiddling with this thing. And Valve knew that people would. They knew that the hardcore PC gamer out there was going to be interested in its flexibility, and this platform allows for that. But it also, and I think that this is incredibly important, it consoleizes the PC gaming experience like never before. It really makes it simple to jump into, a session of Elden Ring or Titanfall 2 or play Batman Arkham Knight or, any one of the thousands of games that you may have in your library and re-experience them with the ease of use that you might have if you booted up that Nintendo Switch. And I think that that is such an amazing accomplishment because it's something that the PC gaming scene has chased for a long time, Valve included, with its big picture mode that you could hook up a PC to a television set and, control everything with your controller. This essentially is big picture mode that you can play anywhere. And yes, you can hook it up to a television set or a monitor, and I have done that, and it works quite well. I've streamed tons of games off of the Steam Deck, and it works incredibly well. But really, the core use of this thing is to just push all of the tweaking and tuning and fiddling away and just jump into your games and play them. And I have been just overwhelmed by how comfortable this machine is to play with. Games like God of War or Death Stranding, massive experiences that play on PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4 run really, really well on this platform, and you can carry it anywhere and play with it anywhere. And of course, you can stream a lot of stuff from your consoles. There's lots of apps that allow you to do that. Stream from your console, stream from your PC. But to download stuff locally to the hard drive and the SD card in this thing and be able to play anywhere and have the fidelity, like the visual quality and the pristine control connection to this software has just been amazing for me. I love the layout of the Steam Deck. I love the grips across the machine. It's incredibly comfortable to use. There are some paddle buttons on the back of the system, which I have inadvertently pressed, and it's, activated something on screen that I didn't really want to do, but that doesn't really come into play that often, and it doesn't really bother me. The thumbsticks are incredible on this device. I mean, you forget you're holding a handheld. That's half the thing, right? Like, you are just completely lost in the screen and in the experience, whether you're playing a shooter like Doom Eternal or cruising around in the Batmobile and Batman Arkham Knight, or playing any number of awesome indie games. I've been playing Loot River recently, and it's just a perfect fit on this thing. That's what's extraordinary for me, is you forget that you're playing a handheld. And I don't think you really ever do on the Nintendo Switch, you get lost in those experiences for sure, but I think still to this day, 5 years later, we're going on the 6th year now with Nintendo Switch, it still feels like this really cool hybrid, like this really cool accomplishment that you're playing something off the television in portable mode, and you're aware that you're playing it in portable mode. Even with the Nintendo Switch OLED screen, which I prefer to the screen on this machine for sure, especially when it comes to pixelated software, and I've been playing so many classic games on the Switch, and I check out lots of indie titles that are pixelated and use pixel art or really cool sprite artwork and stuff, and so I can do that sort of one-to-one on the sharp edges and the inky blacks and stuff comparative to the OLED screen. And I would love for this to have an OLED screen. But you know what? The resolution of this screen and the fidelity of the screen is really still fantastic. And honestly, you're not even thinking about the technology when you're playing on the Steam Deck. When you're playing, you think about the Steam Deck when you're not playing, when you boot it up and you wait for a game to load, or when you look at your library and you go, oh, I should download that, or you're in all of the menus and you're deleting software so you can put a 100 gigabyte title onto this thing, or you switch over to the desktop mode and you download some emulators and you're tuning this thing. You think about the technology for sure, and you want to push it. And I've really made a concerted effort to step away from all of that fiddling and just play with this thing. And I have to commend Valve and its engineers for doing what they set out to do. They built something that brought over the PC gaming complexity and made it very, very simple to jump in and to play and to just experience this software without too many compromises. Now, obviously, some software is not going to run at a full 60 frames per second. Some does, and it's surprising. And Valve has done so many updates to this thing that there is now like a 40 frames per second locked mode, which will make things just look so much smoother than 30 frames per second. And of course, it's got the FSR tuning in there, so you can adjust all of that stuff. And again, here I'm devolving into talking about all the tuning and the fiddling and the twiddling you can do with this thing, when honestly what's impressed me the most is just playing hours and hours of Titanfall 2 and hours of Elden Ring. I've probably put as much time into Elden Ring. I've got about 45 hours of Elden Ring total time so far, and I know that's not the max out there, but I've got all the other things that I review and talk about all the time, so I'm constantly jumping on new stuff. But I've put probably half of my time into Elden Ring on this device, and that's extraordinary. And yes, there were some stumbles and bumbles. Here again, I'm talking about some of the technical sort of hurdles. I think that that's one of the cool things about the Steam Deck, is that Valve understands that its audience is going to be a little bit more knowledgeable, a little bit more forgiving about any frame rate stumbles or any crashes or any technical hurdles that their team on the back end is still trying to figure out. I mean, this machine has launched and it's in a lot more people's hands now than when I first talked about it. And it's been, one thing that I have definitely seen in a lot of videos and a lot of people talking about this thing on Twitter and stuff is just the overall impressed quality. This is a first gen product from Valve, who has never made a handheld before. They had the Steam Machine kind of initiative a few years ago, and that didn't really pan out. So this is a brand new category for this company, and they've tried hardware in a bunch of other ways to varying degrees of success. But holy crap, they knocked it out of the park with this thing. And yes, it can improve. The one major thing that I wish was a part of the Steam Deck experience is that ease of docking the device and having software just sort of adjust on the fly like it does on Nintendo Switch. That's still an incredible technical feat to this day on the Switch, where you can take it out of the dock, play it in handheld, and stick it back in the dock and pick up a controller, and you're playing it instantly on a big screen. That's very impressive, and you can't quite do that with the Steam Deck. Every time you toggle in a USB hub and you pop in the connection to a monitor through HDMI, there is something that you have to kind of contend with, and I found that out on the live stream when I was streaming off of desktop mode the other day. Sometimes there's resolution changes that you have to make. It's just not effortless. It's not seamless, and that's the one major thing that I want Valve to be able to do, because this device can absolutely work as a great machine to pair with a larger screen if you want that. And I think that there's something innately extraordinary about being able to just carry on with your game no matter where you go. And then if you want to just chill and play it on your big screen, you can do that too. The Switch has nailed that. The reason why everybody loves the Switch is because they really got that. And I don't think that there's any reason why Steam Deck shouldn't also have that. So hopefully, when the dock is released this summer for Steam Deck, it will feel a lot smoother and a lot more organic, and Valve will take advantage of that, although they've gone on record and said that they want the experience of playing games on the deck and on television or on monitor to be exactly the same. So they're not really looking at a power boost at all like you get on Nintendo Switch when you pop it into the dock, which I think makes sense conceptually, but I think there's also a little bit of a missed opportunity. There is a real opportunity there to boost a little bit of the horsepower in the dock when this thing is set up to a larger screen, and to get even more horsepower out of this. That being said, this is honestly, it's the best handheld I think that's ever been made because of its flexibility and its massive library. The other major reasons, of course, is that a lot of game developers choose Steam first to release a lot of their indie stuff for sure. But that library is deep. There's a lot of early access stuff. Like, I've been playing Phantom Abyss on this thing, and it's just incredible on Steam Deck. It's also cheaper. You know, there's a lot more price variance and a lot better value in a lot of the games that are available on Steam. And so that initial outlay to have this device, especially if this is maybe your first PC device, because let's be honest, this is a full-on PC. Once you hook it up and you pop a keyboard and mouse into this thing, you can use it as a, fairly low-powered PC, but it's still functional. You can still use the desktop portion as a real desktop, and of course you can now install Windows into this, and stuff is being customized on this hardware every single day. There's new things being applied to this. So if this is your first experience with the PC ecosystem and the PC gaming ecosystem, what an incredible entree. Like, it is an incredibly powerful system, and you're going to find right away that the library is unbelievably deep, and the value and the bundles that happen all the time and the sales that happen all the time on Steam are going to justify the purchase price and really make this an amazing value proposition. As I've been thinking about the Steam Deck, and kind of why I wanted to be in this deserted little part of the park here to talk about this, is I kind of asked myself this question, like, if I had one machine, if I only had one machine that I was going to be able to play video games on, I think it's this one. Because it plays, first-party Xbox published stuff now, and PlayStation is publishing a lot of their first-party stuff on this machine. We're going to have Uncharted on Steam Deck soon, which is so weird. And, it's only a matter of time before we see things like Spider-Man and Returnal and, all kinds of other games out there. But I don't know, like 85% of what gets published ends up being able to be played on this. There's all the emulation elements in here as well. The library is just massive. The flexibility is incredible. And you can play it anywhere, but then you can also hook it up, just like the Switch. So bravo, Valve. They've gone on record and said that this is the first attempt at this, and that there's going to be more. They're learning a ton. They're getting a lot of user feedback, and I think a lot of people have been surprised at how many people bought the top-end model of the Steam Deck. I got the middle one that Valve sent out to me, and it's been more than enough. There's more than enough storage. It's the same processor. It's the same, core game speed across everything, but you get a better screen on the top-end model. But this has been plenty fine to play all kinds of stuff on. But I think Valve just absolutely killed it. And they've definitely opened an interesting new category for themselves. They're just getting started. And so now this has been billed as kind of a Switch killer. And it's not that, because Nintendo's never going to port their stuff to this. The secret sauce of Nintendo isn't the hardware that they make. It's the software that they make and the way that it integrates with its software. They're just like Apple in a lot of ways. That ecosystem is unbelievable. And, when I traveled recently to Disneyland, I had this and the Switch, because I wasn't going to give up playing on either of these machines. And who knew that this was going to be such an important part of the way that I game and millions of other people game out there, that idea of being able to port your experience everywhere. It's just that the Steam Deck with all of its limitless flexibility and all of the imagination of the community out there, like the flexibility in the control schematics, you know, being able to use the touchpads as mice controls, and every time you boot up a game, if you're not happy with the controls that are pre-configured for you, you can just press that little Steam button and pop in a brand new, you know, layout for your controller, and it's incredible. It's going to be remarkable to see where Valve takes this platform and this initiative, and it's also going to be extraordinary to see how the rest of the industry kind of responds. Like, whatever Nintendo's got up their sleeve for the next hardware is definitely going to have to be a bit of a response to Steam Deck. But like I say, and this is kind of crazy for me because up until this point, Nintendo Switch, I think, would have been that answer. But if I had to choose just one machine that I could play games on, which of course none of us have to, and it's stupid to think like that because all of the machines offer tremendous value and interesting experiences, you know, that are unique to each of those different platforms. But hypothetically, if I had to choose just one, right now, it's the Steam Deck, which is crazy. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll be back soon with some fresh content for you. Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel and for following our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/EPN. We'll see you soon, and until then, play forever.